In 2017, I was hospitalized because my tracheostomy tube was digging into my trachea and causing a lot of pain and inflammation. My pulmonologist said I needed a different tracheostomy tube. The physician looked through the inventory at the hospital. She found a tracheostomy tube which had a foam-filled cuff. The doctor thought this would be an excellent tracheostomy tube to use since the foam-filled cuff would be gentle on my trachea. The following day, the tracheostomy tube with the foam-filled cuff was placed while I was rendered unconscious using twilight sedation. When I woke up, the tracheostomy tube felt very bulky. My mom was in the hospital room. I wanted to talk to her. I got out my syringe. I tried to deflate the cuff. However, it was a huge struggle to get the cuff deflated. I wrestled for several minutes trying to get all the air out of the cuff. But as soon as I released the syringe from the pilot balloon, the cuff immediately started to reinflate before I was able to cap the end of the pilot balloon. I was absolutely heartbroken. I tried over and over again to deflate the cuff. Finally, after about 15 minutes, the cuff was deflated enough that I could whisper to my mom. Regular tracheostomy tubes have a spring at the end of the pilot balloon adapter, which automatically snaps shut when not in use. To inflate the cuff on the tracheostomy tube, a syringe needs to be inserted into the pilot balloon adapter and the spring has to be compressed. Air is then pushed into the cuff, causing it to inflate. When the syringe is removed, the spring snaps shut and prevents air from leaking out. To deflate the cuff, a syringe needs to be attached to the end of the pilot balloon adapter and the spring must be compressed. Pulling back on the syringe withdraws air from the cuff and causes it to deflate. As soon as the syringe is removed, the spring snaps shut, keeping the cuff deflated. With the foam-filled cuff, the cuff is always inflated. To deflate the cuff, a syringe must be attached to the pilot balloon adapter. Pulling back on the syringe withdraws air from the tracheostomy tube cuff and causes it to deflate. To keep the cuff deflated, the end of the pilot balloon must be sealed shut using a plug at the end of the pilot balloon. If the line remains open, the cuff will automatically reinflate. Even the short time it takes to disconnect the syringe and insert the plug into the pilot balloon will cause the foam-filled cuff to reinflate. I tried eating and drinking, but the partially inflated cuff made it difficult to swallow. I was extremely frustrated with this new tracheostomy tube. The next day, the doctor visited me. She saw how hard I had to fight with the tracheostomy tube cuff to get it deflated, only to have it automatically reinflate on me. She decided she would take out the tracheostomy tube. I again was knocked unconscious using twilight sedation. The doctor's assistant tried to deflate the cuff before removing the tracheostomy tube. As soon as the syringe was removed from the pilot balloon adapter, the cuff automatically reinflated on the assistant. The doctor jumped into action. She deflated the cuff. As soon as the syringe was removed, the assistant immediately capped the end of the pilot balloon. Even doing all this, the tracheostomy tube cuff was still not completely deflated. The physician had to use all her muscle strength to rip the tracheostomy tube out of my throat. A new tracheostomy tube was then inserted. When I woke up from being sedated, I was so excited. I could once again deflate the cuff on my tracheostomy tube. I was so excited to be able to speak, eat, and drink again. The fear and panic the foam-filled cuff created from not being able to deflate the cuff on my tracheostomy tube was tremendous. If I needed an emergency tracheostomy tube exchange, I would not have been able to perform the procedure by myself. The time it would take to summon help and struggle to get the cuff deflated could be the difference between life and death. I am sure the foam-filled tracheostomy tube cuff is great for certain individuals, but for me, I will not use that tracheostomy tube again. Thank you so much for joining me. Please remember to like and subscribe down below. I hope you have a great day and a wonderful week. Bye-bye.